COM 300 module on Pathos. Let me set my Honey D28 aside for a moment, and let's talk about the objectives. For this section, this module, I want you to locate and describe how emotions are targeted in a variety of media. And second, to list some of the challenges and potential effects of using emotional appeals. The working vocabulary is there to kind of help you focus some of your studying. So what's difficult about appealing to emotions? Well, the first thing is that it's not really under our control. It's not something that I can say, oh, audience, I want you to be enraged. Please be enraged. Or I want you to feel warmth and compassion. You can't just tell people to feel something. You have to figure out a way to evoke that emotion. So that's one kind of issue. A second issue is that a lot of emotional issues are culture bound. So even in the United States, there's differences in regions about how people express and interpret emotions. So that's another difficulty that gets in the way sometimes of saying, oh look, that's an emotion. You have to be careful a little bit about attributing emotion when you're interpreting emotion, right? List and explain at least 5 ways a message can evoke an emotional response. Well, first is something like word painting or the use of very evocative language. If I were to say, don't forget to floss your teeth, that might have some impact. But if I were to say to you, if you don't floss your teeth, then the dentist takes the drill. And the worst part of the drill is not the pain as it drills into your tooth. It's the smell of burning enamel. All right, so maybe a little more visceral reaction because I'm actually describing a little bit about what it's like to sit in a dentist's chair. A second way is through the use of icons or images that have powerful associations. So in the United States, of course, we have the eagle, we have the Statue of Liberty, and then there are things like babies and children and flags, flowers, puppies. There's lots of icons that kind of clue us into how we're supposed to be feeling a little bit at the time. A third way is to just show the emotion. You see this in a lot of movies at the end when they want you to feel uplifted and triumphant. They've won the dance contest or they've succeeded in doing something, then everyone will be cheering and shouting and they'll be expressing that emotion. Or when you're supposed to feel sad and you'll see someone who's feeling sad or wiping tears from their eyes. Right? So that's a very powerful kind of a thing. The display of emotion can have a significant impact on people's willingness to then, feel that emotion as well, their ability to. Fourth, is music. I'm going to show you a little bit after a bit on the guitar, but let's just say that we know that music has rhythm, it has a tempo, right? It also has tonality. And so if you end up doing a critique like of a song or a music video, which some people have done for paper number 2, I want you to make sure not just to talk about the lyrics, because that's an easy place to focus on, but to also encounter the music a little bit. Why is this combination of music and lyrics so powerful? And the tonality includes things like major tone, minor tone, dominant tonality, and so forth. Fifth is color theory. It is true, research shows that color has a very significant impact on the human experience of emotion. So almost all of the Hallmark ads that you've ever seen to buy a little Hallmark card are in some kind of alpenglow. They take a filter and they put it on it so it looks like, fresh in the morning and the sun is shining through, and we're going to have a cup of coffee, and that's going to be our hallmark moment, right? So color, it's also one of the reasons why, if you think about it, most fast food colors are red and yellow. At least the major ones that I know of. And so what does that have to do with? Well, that has to do with research that shows that red and yellow are both attractive, and they kind of speed people up. They want you to go through their restaurant as fast as possible. What are some of the effects of emotional appeals? Well, the first thing is that emotional appeal often will grab your attention. Think about this. You're in a crowded place and all of a sudden you hear someone crying. You filter that right out of the rest of the crowd, and you're immediately sort of looking for who's crying or who's shouting, who's angry, right? So it draws or grabs our attention a little bit. It also strengthens our recall. We remember those emotional moments in our life, right? The first date, the time when you accomplished something that you never thought you'd do, maybe like graduation. And so we remember those emotional times, particularly vividly in many cases. The third effect is that it reduces counter-argumentation. So people will use emotional appeals because they bypass the whole, wait a minute, do I really need a Lexus? Do I need to spend that kind of money for a car? Well, is it because this car gets good gas mileage? Is it because it's in my price range? No, none of that. It's because it feels super cool, right? So oftentimes you'll see a lot of advertisements are basically in the business of bypassing your logical reasoning and going straight to your emotion to try and get you to purchase something. A final implication or effect of emotion is sometimes emotional appeals become too intense. They become so intense that you just have to avoid them. It overloads you, and so you just reject it and don't even go there. In some magazines you'll be flipping through and there'll be a picture of a starving child asking you to support this child, only $1 a week or something. And part of what happens, people see that starving child with the belly distended and everything, they just flip the page. It overloads them too much to really, for them to process it. And this does sometimes happen in an audience. They get so overloaded with emotion that they just kind of shut down to the emotional part of it. So for Jiang's handover speech on Hong Kong, how well does he create the emotions of safety and the comfort of family in the Hong Kong handover speech? Do you agree with Gilmore's analysis here? I'm not sure about that. So why or why not? And that's what you're bringing to the table today on the play sheet. I'd also like you to watch a Hallmark ad and a short clip of a motivational speaker. The URLs are here. And talk a little bit about, which of these techniques are going to, are used here to arouse different emotions. Can we talk a little bit about the use of music, the use of lighting, the use of display of emotion, those kinds of things. And so we'll have some conversation about that. So what specific elements of music were varied to produce emotional effects? Okay. Take up my buddy again. So let's talk about major, minor, and dominant kinds of chords. Let me just show you here. Here's an A major. Kind of bright, maybe a little cheery, right? As opposed to A minor. I change one finger, and now all of a sudden it's mysterious. it's dark, maybe sad. Minor tonality. And then I change one more finger, and all of a sudden, it just has a little lilt of attitude. That's the dominant, the seventh. Right? And you'll see a lot of that, particularly used in blues and so forth. So let me run by you 2 songs, and then I'm going to ask you which of these is more major oriented and which of them is more minor oriented. And then, is there anywhere in here where a seventh is thrown in, a dominant note? Well, I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else but not for me. Love was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face, now I'm a believer. Not a trace, a doubt in my mind. I'm in love, ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Okay, that's one. Here's another, very different flavor. Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood. Hop a flight to Miami Beach or to Hollywood. I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in a New York state of mind. So which of those do you think is major and which is minor? And then both of them had dominant sevenths. Can you kind of pick out a little bit where those dominant sevenths occurred? So post this. Emotional appeals can have both positive and negative consequences. Post an example of an emotional appeal that goes too far and might even be considered unethical by some. How is it possible in our society to respond to these types of appeals? And maybe comment on some other posts. So, from the front lines, have a great day.